Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Nonprofit Spotlight series. Today, we are joined by Rick Dahlside, and he is the CFO of Janus, and they are doing really great work out in the Bay Area using trauma informed care and the addiction and recovery treatment. Rick, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell me a little bit more about the work that you're doing.
It's my pleasure, Grayson. Janus has been around just about 50 years. This year in September, we'll be celebrating this next September, our 50th year serving the community in the Santa Cruz County area. Janus is truly the leader in addiction treatment and recovery, just like we say as our tagline. Janus has been benefited by the community, by the state of California in recognition of the tremendous work that it's been doing. The world of addiction treatment and recovery has been basically a movement that started 40, 50 years ago by well-meaning people. And when it started, it was largely volunteer-based. And now we fast forward to 2025, where our organization is 165 employees strong and working hard to help stem the stigma of addiction and also help people into treatment. It's just a wonderful organization, and it's a great place to be in helping people.
Love that. And in terms of results, you work with over 2,500 individuals annually. And I'd love to dive into what is the process like in terms of operations at that scale, and also that transition from the community based aspect into the kind of trauma
Yeah, so
informed
a good question.
therapy that you are doing at Janus.
Okay, yeah, excellent. So one of the things that we highly believe in is a concept of open access, so that there are many doors to enter into treatment. And those doors can start from coming into the front door and just asking for help, to maybe there's some kind of an intervention that happens through law enforcement where somebody's picked up for driving under the influence and they make their way into one of our sobering centers, and from there enter into the Janus system and get help and treatment. The organization really covers the whole continuum of care, from residential treatment programs, withdrawal management, intensive outpatient. We also run 2 clinics in the county for medicated assisted treatment, methadone treatment. And we have a sobering center where I mentioned, where people can be pulled over for DUI, or they can actually just make their way in there on their own and get help and treatment. It's been just an excellent, really wonderful gift to the community to be able to have this kind of an organization. And so, I always have wondered, how do people get care? How do they get treatment? And Janus just makes it very, very palatable and easy, to actually walk in the front door and say, hey, I'm here, I need some help, or actually be brought by somebody.
Understood. It sounds like once they're in the door, it really is just meeting them where they are in terms of their needs and providing those services for that community.
Yes, absolutely. Janus takes great pride in helping to reduce the stigma of anybody that is seeking treatment. We want to make it easy to come in and to talk with people to find out what is available and get them the help that they need. We do that every day of the week. We're available to help people that are seeking treatment and recovery.
That's incredible. And it sounds like y'all have that really great, robust program once they're in the door. Tell me a little bit more about that stigma and the ways that y'all are working to reduce that, both within the community itself and from the broader kind of community in the Bay Area.
Yeah. So, in the recovery movement, we have a saying. First of all, recovery is for everybody. And just how happens that the month we're in, September, is recovery month. And so, we know that recovery is for everybody. And believe it or not, everybody is in recovery. And there's a term for people that feel like they're not. We call that denial, but just a little humor there. But the way we go about reducing stigma is, like you had said earlier, meeting people where they're at. No matter what background they come from, what socioeconomic scale they might be on, people struggle and have issues with substance abuse, whether it be alcohol or drugs or cannabis or whatever it might be. People need to know that there's someone willing to help without judgment, anything other than just wanting to help them get better. And so we have great programs where people can come in, and if they can stay in a residential treatment setting, great. Or if they need intensive outpatient therapy where they're coming to us but living elsewhere, that is fine too. We also currently run a 10-bed perinatal program, which is very
Mm.
unique in that it's helping women going through recovery that have children. And so that's another offering that we have for the county.
And I'd love to dive into your personal background with the organization. You're the CFO. Where do you see your current role and your responsibilities? What do you view your piece of the puzzle as being? And what was the journey like getting to today?
Yeah, yeah. So thank you. I've been very fortunate to work with nonprofit organizations for the past 20 years. And I have a deep desire to want to help people. And anytime I can use my skills and abilities and leverage that to help organizations that are helping lots of people, that's great. And so when got involved with Janus about 3 years ago, it was as a consultant in an outsourced chief financial officer. And after working for a couple of years with them in my own history with recovery organizations, I felt like this was an area where I really could make an impact in the
Mm.
community in the state of California and in the nation eventually. And so my small piece of the puzzle is really dedicated towards making sure we are good stewards of all the financial resources that we are able to gather, and we are very diversified in our funding streams to help the organization not be overly dependent upon one specific area of funding. And so with that comes the constant responsibility to be plugged into all what's happening. We have 165 employees. That's a fairly large headcount to make sure everybody is getting paid on time, the benefits are working, workers' comp is in place, all the different various aspects of having an employee base of that size. We also have 13 different facilities that the
Wow.
organization runs, that some of those that I mentioned earlier, but those are also needing oversight. And so I oversee facilities as well as the infrastructure around information technology. So making sure everybody's connected and staying connected. We've got great people working in those areas, and they just happen to report up to me. Very fortunate to get to be a part of that. And along with all that comes some great funding that's coming from the state of California through their behavioral health and capital infrastructure program.
Mm.
And so the governor has seen fit to make sure that behavioral health is getting sufficient funding to increase and build out facilities, brick and mortar facilities. We're currently underway with construction of a 25-bed facility for the perinatal program to increase that from 10 beds to 25 beds to help more women and children in our community. And then on the heels of that are a couple of other projects that we're working on through this program where the state has been funding the behavioral health section of the addiction treatment area. And we're able to actually see some great progress that's happening and more to come on that in future. I can't tell you too much about it right now, but it's
Yeah.
very exciting. It really will change the landscape for addiction treatment and recovery in the Bay Area.
That's incredible, and,
Yeah,
that funding piece that you brought up, and especially the fact that y'all have this diversified set of funding, really tell me about what your thought process going into setting the organization up with the diversified set of funding going into the future was, because I think a lot of organizations are kind of looking at this changes on the federal funding landscape and realizing we need to do something about this right now. So I'd love
yeah,
to learn a little bit more about kind of where your thoughts were, in the past that led us to today where you already have it set up, and then also maybe some advice that you would have for an organization that's looking to do that right.
sure. Well, one thing I can say is coming onto the organization approximately 2.5 years ago, a lot of this was already in place.
Okay.
And I owe all of that infrastructure set up to our wonderful CEO, Amber Williams. She has done a phenomenal job of being able to anticipate what is coming and how this movement is going to be um, uh, evolving through the years and getting things set up so that when we get there, we are ready. And so she has been the brainchild behind a lot of these grants and has a great resource for when these things come available. And so she sees this too as a way to help more people as long as we keep our funding stream diversified and aren't overly dependent on any one particular line of funding. We haven't yet even tapped into the whole philanthropy market that's available. So owing it all to Amber and how and her expertise and knowledge about how these organizations should be run has really been me trying to keep up with her on some of these respects, but then continuing on and maintaining this kind of diversified mindset.
Mm,
We get a majority of our funding through the county, which comes through the Medicaid services through the federal government into the state and then down to us. But we also have branched out and making sure we have a fair amount of grants that cover funding of different areas and different personnel that are also part of our bread and butter and how we help the community,
mm,
something to do with addiction treatment and recovery. We have a good justice involved program that's helping people that are coming out of the incarceration system into the community that might have a substance abuse issue. And so we've got plans in place, programs in place to help them. We work hand in hand with the sheriff's department, with the probation department, and helping these individuals back into a successful part of society.
and, for our nonprofit audience that's listening in, what would be some, lessons or advice that you would give to them as they look to diversify their set of funding?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think probably the biggest area where nonprofits can really gain some traction and some efficiency, also more sustainability, is in the area of collaboration. Often we see nonprofits, and I've consulted with nonprofits for the last 20 years. I've seen all different types of nonprofits. And I can say that one of the things that they need to guard against is kind of a scarcity mindset. Their mindset should be around abundance. We live in a wonderful state, a wonderful country with lots of resources, but it takes a little bit of work to uncover those. And so what I've seen is this in the scarcity mindset is a lack of collaboration with other nonprofits. Here's a perfect example. So you have a nonprofit that has to feed people, some kind of a program where they have to feed people, and they're constantly faced with increasing food prices and getting the good quality food in their door. Well, many nonprofits, such as ourselves, will collaborate with other nonprofits like a food bank to help reduce their spend on food. Food banks are wonderful organizations to partner with because they have good food and usually available capacity to help other nonprofits. And so you can get in line with a nonprofit food bank and get help that way. This idea of collaboration comes into play when you look around your organization and say, you know what? We'd love to do that, but we don't have enough of whatever it is. So you look at that, whatever it is that you need as an organization, and then you look around your community and say, okay, who has an excess of this kind of stuff? And you start networking and
Mm.
collaborating with other nonprofits that might just say, you know what, we'd love to work with you. And we've got excess capacity in this area. Let's come alongside. And so that's the one area that I'm focused on, helping other organizations and nonprofits look for ways to collaborate independently with these other nonprofits to help get the things they need.
That is incredible. And I think there's a lot of really great advice to dive into about that. If you could boil it down into an easy step, maybe let's get a leader to take that first step. What would that be?
So, in any community where there are nonprofits, there's generally some gathering of like minded individuals. And I'll start with the Chamber of Commerce. Now, that could be the very basic place where organizations gather and they have meetings. And then that's a place to go and meet other nonprofits. The other place for a nonprofit to go to would be some of their own vendors, whoever is their accounting firm that's doing their 990, whoever their insurance company is that's providing their property and casualty insurance or their workers' comp insurance, whoever their organization that might be helping them with their bank, and say,
Yeah,
look, the
come
CEO
to us.
goes to, yeah, one of those service providers and say, I need to network and collaborate with other nonprofits. Who can you introduce me to? And many times they'll say they're happy to make
Yes.
connections. And so that would be kind of the base level of where I would go. And absolutely, if anybody is like wondering what's a good strategy, like I tell anybody that is working with nonprofits, I'm happy to be a resource for anything of that nature.
Amazing. And for our nonprofit audience, how do they get involved with Janus? How would they get in touch with you as well?
Right. So you're very welcome to contact me through my website, or excuse me, through my email account, rdalside at janussc.org. I'm happy to return phone calls. I'll be happy to leave my phone number with you, Grayson. And then, to visit our website and take a look around your community for who is doing similar work. Who in your community is working with the addiction treatment and recovery movement? And come alongside them, help them, be a resource for them in different ways. Because as long as we can continue to help people that are looking for hope, then we're really helping mankind and humanity to advance. And I think that is something that's really needed in today's society is how can we help our fellow humans to succeed?
I love that. Rick, thank you so much for coming on and sharing more about, your personal background, and your piece of the puzzle,
Yeah,
and also the incredible important work you're doing in the Bay Area with Janus. I appreciate, the time that you gave us today, and I hope that our nonprofit audience was able to gain some invaluable insights.
thank you. It's been a pleasure.